The Milesians, as I said, were descendants of a man named Mil, who was a Scythian, and he had settled in Spain. He was known as King of Spain, and I think this is fascinating. This particular part of our Irish history. Mil was married to a woman called Scotia, and this is one of the names that was given to Ireland. And Scotia was the daughter of the Egyptian pharaoh Nectanebus. He was the king of Egypt. So again, you have this indication of a connection between ancient Ireland and ancient India, or ancient Egypt. And the story goes, Mil had 5 sons, and he himself actually never set foot in Ireland. He died before he could set foot in Ireland. But one of the sons, called Ir, was sent off on a sort of a scouting mission to see what he could find. And he came across the country, and he went on shore, and he found the Tuatha Dé Danann, and they sort of parted on good company. But once he had left, the 3 kings sort of had second thoughts, and they thought, Jesus, he's going to come back. If we let him go, he's going to come back with loads of people. We need to do something about this. So they did something very wrong, and they killed him. And once news of this had spread to his relatives in Spain, his brothers, they pledged to avenge his death. So these Spanish, Egyptian descendants sent over armies of men to Ireland. It was like a full-scale invasion by his sons. They first tried to land at a place called Inverslane, which I believe is Slane Castle. I believe it's that area. And this was foiled by the Tuatha Dé Danann, who, once they seen that they were arriving, they started to use their spells and do these storms and, push them further out to sea. So they didn't get to land first of all. The Milesians were led by Emergan, who was one of the sons of Mil, one of the older brothers. And Emergan came onto the island, and he came across the 3 kings, Macul, Macecht and Magrina. And he finds them having a fight. They're quarrelling over a division of their father's treasure. And he's shocked, and he's a little bit bemused, I guess, at this petty behaviour from kings kings of such a bountiful and abundant land to be squabbling over some petty jewellery and petty treasure. He felt that they were unworthy of the title of kingship, and boldly said, "I'm your king now." What transpired next is referred to as the First Judgment, but as I said earlier, the one with Partholon is a much earlier account, but some people still refer to this as the First Judgment because there's actually a judge in this story. There's actually a Brehon or a druid who's giving his opinion, and therefore it's a judgment. You don't get that in the Partholonian story. But the Tuatha Dé Danann, they weren't prepared for this battle. They weren't expecting, they were sort of caught by surprise by the Milesians, and they asked for more time to prepare for battle. And they turned to Emergan, who was a druid, and they said to them, okay, you have to use your good judgment and knowledge. We're going to put you to the test. We're going to put your judgment to the test. We want you to make us a fair offer. And if you didn't make them a fair offer, they promised to strike him down on the spot using their enchantments and kill him. So he turned around and he said that because the Tuatha Dé Danann were caught off guard, that it wouldn't be fair to fight now. So what they would do is they would go back to their ships, and they would sail out 9 leagues, 9 waves out into the ocean, and then they would try to take Ireland again. And if they were successful, they would take it, and if not, they would leave. And he tells the Tuatha Dé Danann that they can use their magic, and if they can keep the ships from coming back on the shore, then that will be it, and they will remain the rulers of Ireland. And the Tuatha Dé Danann heard this judgment, and they seen it as pleasing to them, and it was a just judgment, and it was fair. And because they were confident and probably a little bit cocky of their magical abilities, they were, in their own minds, certain of success. They started using their enchantments. They called on these great storms and this roaring sea, this stormy, windy weather, in an effort to destroy the ships of the Milesians that were sitting in the bay. But the story says that this storm, this wind, this roaring sea was soothed back to calmness when American began to speak his poetry. Landing on the shores, finally they go on to overthrow the two-headed Danann at Talton, which is now today known as Telltown, in the region of Tara in the county of Meath. Defeated, the two-headed Danann move into the hills of Ireland under the guidance of Manannán and the kingship of their new leader, Bob the Arg. The Milesians had conquered Ireland and would set about building hill forts, round forts, rats, cairns, and we can see lots of remnants of these things around the country today. But the Milesians would be, as I said, the Spanish, the sons of Mil the king of Spain. And this is where the Irish people get, some of the Irish people have dark hair, darker skin, darker eyes. It comes from that genetic line, going back to Spain. And it's also why I would speculate why the Irish people are so closely related genetically to the people of the Basque region of Spain.